we can see the market's heading lower. So you want to ask yourself, what was going on inside of this region, right? Was the trend going to end in this region? So why didn't I pick this area? So there's a few reasons for that, right? What was wrong with trading here? So here, there's no clear fair value gap. That's the first thing. There's no fair value gap. We haven't tapped into a fair value gap. And just to give people some context on which fair value gap I'm speaking about, if you go to ES on the 15-minute time frame, and you go all the way back, we actually had this key level. So this key level held from Tuesday, right? This was Tuesday, the 17th of June. And so the reason I like this fair value gap from an ICT perspective is that we took out the Asian low. So we had one phase manipulation, and then we had our two phase manipulation. Then we left a fair value gap, right? So this was a key level from Tuesday. FOMC held the level. This was the wiki FOMC that gave us good sells. I made a trade on that earlier on in the week. And now we come on to Friday, and on Friday we have the same kind of thing, right? We're rejecting off this area. So we know we're at an area of strong supply. And so to answer the people's questions of how do I find a trend exhaustion, you want to be identifying areas of supply and demand. And so to find areas of supply and demand, to find proper areas of supply and demand, you need to understand what is going on inside of this region, right? Why did the markets reject lower? And the reason the markets rejected lower is because of the data we see over here, right? 41 for 264. Now, if we go to the final two candles before the rejection, you want to see what price was doing, right? We see a zero at the top, right? Just like we saw over here, we saw a zero at the top. So what does that zero actually mean? So that zero represents a finished auction. So when you're looking for a trend exhaustion, you want to look for a finished auction. And so a finished auction, very simply put, is when you see a zero on one side of the candles. And so when you see a zero, you want to ask yourself, first you want to think from a literal perspective, what is the footprint charts telling me? Well, the footprint charts are telling you that we see 0 for 37, which means that there's 37 aggressive buyers, and there's 0 aggressive sellers. So what that means is there's 37 market participants hitting the ask. And so when the market participants hit the ask, and you don't see any reward from those buyers, that means that those buyers are being absorbed. And this is what creates a trend exhaustion. I want traders to understand that. So we also see that over here. So we see 280 for 728. That's roughly a 3x difference. We see 408 for 753. That's just under a 2x difference. So we're seeing a significant amount of buying volume before a huge seller enters the market over here. So what happened to the buyers here, and also here? What was going on with those buyers? Those buyers essentially failed to drive the price higher. And so when you look at it from a fair value gap perspective, right, the only reason fair value gaps hold is because there's been an absorption. So what's going on here is that there is a buyer absorption, right? There is a buyer absorption, which means passive sellers are in control. And so this is the main kind of theme of the video. So what makes an A+ setup and what makes a trend exhaustion, as people are asking, is you want to see an absorption. In this case, it is a buyer absorption. We are way above the daily opening price. We're looking to catch this wick. And we've also entered a fair value gap, which is just over here. So these are the concepts we are looking for, which constitutes to the end of a trend. So I'm just going to clear the charts up, and we're going to go through a couple of things over here. So now on the 5-minute time frame, how could you have entered this particular trade, right? So I personally took this